Hi everyone, and welcome back for the second episode in my inventory system tutorial series in Unreal Engine 4. Last time we went through the setup and how things all worked. This time we're going to go through how to make the windows appear on the screen and also fill it with the correct number of slots. So let's go back to where we left off last time. Okay, so where we left off last time, we need to first of all now make our, let's make our folder. So right click and click new folder, inventory UI, and in here we're going to create 3 widgets. So go on add new, user interface, widget blueprint. The first one's going to be called HUD. I'm then going to right click, duplicate that, and the next one's going to be called inventory window, and then duplicate that one again to inventory slot. So for this to work, we're going to make our own player controller as well. So I'm going to go back a few, I'm going to put it here actually, the new controller, but you can put it wherever you like. I'm going to go right click, new blueprint class, and you'll see a player controller here. And the controller essentially is like a puppet master. It controls how things move and what they do. So I'm going to call mine my player controller, and I'm going to go in here and set up the ability for it to use the HUD. So the HUD widget, if I go back here, the HUD widget can be sort of a container which contains all of my game's user interface elements, and one of those elements is going to be the inventory window. So back to my player controller, we're going to create the HUD widget. So from here, we're going to go and begin play, create widget. And from there, I'm going to choose HUD. After that, I'm going to promote the return value to a variable and name it HUD Widget. And then from there, I'm going to add it to the viewport. Add to viewport. And that's all we're going to have to do on our player controller for now. To make it so you can actually use the player controller though, we need to edit the project settings. So go to edit, project settings, go to maps and modes, and on the selected game mode here you'll see player controller class. You want to choose your one from the drop down list and then close this. So now that controller is now going to build this HUD widget. So the HUD widget is pretty basic. We're not going to do much to it. The only thing we're going to do is click on the canvas panel and we'll make it in a variable. And I'm going to name it HUD widget. Nope, HUD canvas, sorry. Oh, pardon me. HUD canvas. So this is basically a empty panel where we can store multiple things and store them on absolute layout. Okay. So click compile. We're done with the HUD. Close that for now. Next up is the inventory slot. So the slot, we don't want a canvas panel, so delete the canvas panel. What we do want is a size box. Drag a size box in there, and a size box you can determine exactly what size you want the panel to be. So the width and height I'm going to put in is 98.75, and the height is going to be 98.75. I'll explain those numbers in a minute, don't worry. So 98.75 for the height and width. Notice it doesn't actually change anything on the viewport. That's because we need to change the fill screen to desired. So now it will show exactly how we want it to look. Inside our size box, we are going to do a border. And a border is a panel which has a colour inside of it. So the brush colour, I'm going to change to a grey, like so. And I'm going to give it a padding of 5. There we go. So it brings it in, pads it out by 5 pixels each way. Inside the border, I'm going to put in an overlay. And an overlay panel basically allows you to store multiple elements inside of it. So its padding is going to be just 5 instead of 4 and 2, so 5. And we'll make sure it's filled horizontally and vertically, like so. And for its contents, we're going to put in an image and a text. The image, we want to make sure it is variable, and we'll name it item thumbnail. And we're going to make it fill horizontally and vertically. The text we want to make is, well, name it rather, item quantity. Can't spell it, there we go. And I want to put this in the top right. So top right is this one here and this one here, and its default text I'm going to put underscore ph. That will change, so it doesn't really matter too much, but I like to put underscore ph for placeholder text. It's a personal thing, up to you what you want to do. I'm going to also align the text to the right by doing that. Okay, so what's next? Next up is to go into the graph editor. So click on the graph in the top right, and we're going to create some variables for our slot. So the variables we want, click on the plus symbol and do slot index, and this is an integer. The next one we want is a slot contents, and this is going to be a slot structure, which is the same type the same data structure we made in the first episode. And the last variable we need is the inventory itself that the slot belongs to, and this is a type of inventory component. For each of these, we need to make them editable and exposed on spawn. Editable, exposed on spawn. Editable, exposed on spawn. These allow us to change the values as we create each slot, which is quite important. So click compile, and we're done with the slot, so we can close that. And lastly, we want to do is the inventory window. So the window, likewise, want to get rid of the canvas panel. We don't want that. We want a size box instead. So drag a size box down there, and the size we want is width and height of 800 by 500. And again, I'm going to change fill screen here to desired so I can clearly see what it's going to finally look like on the screen. So in here, we're going to put in a border. So we've got some colour to it. And I'm going to make this a bit grey and a bit see-through, 0.5 in the alpha. And make sure it's filling everything as it should be. Next up, we want is a vertical box. Vertical box inside the border, and the vertical box stores its contents, multiple contents, on top of each other vertically. So I'm going to make the title bar section first of all, which is going to be an overlay onto the vertical box, and inside the overlay will be a piece of text and also a button. So the text is going to be centered, so you want to center, center, and center. And the button is going to be on the right, so I'm going to go right, center, and it'll be in that corner there. So it's going to be a close button. So let's name it button close. Let's name it our text block as well. We'll name that one inventory title, and that'll do for the overlay. So that's the first part of the vertical box. The next part is a grid panel, and put that into vertical box. And the grid panel, I'm going to put in a padding of 5, like so. And also, let's go back to our vertical box and get rid of that padding there. We don't want that. Put 0. Grid panel has 5. Grid panel should be the only one with padding in it. So the grid panel is where you're going to store those slots we just made. So at the moment it's empty. We need to add some space for it to add stuff to. So over here you see fill rules: column fill, row fill. Column fill, you want to change that to 8 elements, and row fill I'm going to do 3. But you change these based on what kind of thing you're doing. We're going to make this grid a variable by ticking the box up the top here, and I'm going to name it inventory grid. Okay, and that'll do for the appearance of our window. Next up, I'm going to go into the graph, and in the graph we're going to add some variables. So click on the plus variable. We need an inventory, which will be an inventory component, and likewise we want to make this editable and expose and spawn, so we can edit this variable when we create the window for the first time. And we want another variable for the title of the window itself, so I'm going to go inventory title, and that's going to be a text type. Now as I've got that, I can now bind this text type variable to the text that's in the designer view. So if I go to the designer view, and this text block here, I can bind the text here to that inventory title. Click compile, and back to graph. Oh, we may need to give it something else. And I'll call it title. What's going on? Oh yeah. So it didn't like the two things being named the same, so I had to change the name of it to title. There you go. That's better. You get less errors. Okay, so with that headache now done, we now need to make it so it spawns the slots. So let's get rid of the pre-construct and the tick. We don't need those. And on the construct is where we do all that work. And the way it works is with a for loop. So from here, we're going to go for loops. And if you don't know what a for loop does, what essentially it does is it loops through this content attached to the loop body multiple times. How many times is determined by this index here. So first index, last index. So it'll go through here till it reaches here, and it will auto increment the counter. So the first index is going to be 0. The last index is going to be the size of our inventory. So from the inventory component variable, drag this out, choose get, and then from there we can choose get number of slots, which is a variable we set up last episode. However, there's an issue because this is not 0 based, whereas this is. 0 based means it starts at 0. Okay, so we need this to start at 0. So it starts at 1. So the simplest thing to do is simply just drag out minus and leave it at -1. That's all you need to do. So this will go through the loop as many times as there are number of slots associated to that inventory. So for the for loop, the content of it, we're going to create a widget. Choose create widget. And when we choose our slot, inventory slot, you'll see we can now set these variables we set up earlier. So this slot index is index, slot content and slot inventory. Inventory, pretty simple, is just this inventory here. Choose get, and we can plug that into like so. But for the slot contents, we have to go from our inventory and choose get inventory, which is this array, and from there choose get, and it'll open up that array and look for this index, which is here, and that goes into slot contents. And that's all you need to do. Now create all those widgets. However, we need to now attach them to this grid. We have to put them inside this grid. So to do that, we're going to drag on our inventory grid here, choose get, and inventory grid is going to come out, and you're going to go add child to grid. Hook that up to the return value with the content. So now this will spawn all those slots into this grid, but it will only spawn them at 0, 0. So this 0 row, 0 column. So we need to change that so it spawns them in the correct place. So from this return value, choose set column, and from the return value again do set row. So these will take 2 integers, in column, in row, which sets which column and row it goes in, and we can do all that using the index. So from the index, I'm going to go down here, just going to reroute it so it's nice and tidy for everyone, and from here we can use the modulo symbol. So modulo is the percentage symbol. And what modulo does is it gets the remainder of a division. So I'm going to change this to 8, and whatever number goes in there, it will divide by 8 and spit out the remainder. And that's what I want to go into my column. So if I was on index 4, this will spit out 4, because 4 divided by 8 is 0, with a 4 remaining, therefore 4 will go into column. For the row though, we just want straight up division. So integer divided by integer, and hook that into row. Again, make sure this is 8, the same width of our number of slots we have wide. So for example, if this is 4, this would get modulo 4 into a column, be the 5th column along. 4 divided by 8 is 0, so it'll be the first row, which is correct. If it's 10, 10 modulo 8 equals 2, so it'll be a third column. Remember, it's 0 based, so it'll be a third column. And 10 divided by 8 is 1, therefore this will be the second row. And that is it. So click compile, and we're done with the inventory window. So now we need to make it show up on the screen. So to do that, we're going to go back to our inventory component. And our inventory component, we're going to create a new function called toggle inventory. Now toggle inventory is going to create a widget for the window and add it to our HUD. So let's do that. So let's drag out here, create widget, and when I choose the window, you'll see it's asking for inventory. That's because we set up the expose on spawn. And all I'm going to do, because I want to use this inventory, I'm going to grab out here and do self, and you'll get a reference to self. Return value, I'm going to promote that to a variable and call that inventory window. And I'm going to now add this to the HUD. But first of all, I need to get the HUD. So let's get the HUD from the player controller. So get the player controller. We're then going to cast this to my player controller, because remember, that's where we've got that HUD widget stored. And as player controller, we're going to get HUD widget, and the HUD widget, we can now access its HUD canvas because we made that variable. So get HUD canvas. If it doesn't appear, just go back and make sure the HUD has got the canvas panel ticked as is variable. So from there, we can then go add child to canvas. And the content of this is going to be that inventory window, like so. Adding it to the canvas is not enough. We need to also set its size. So go to return value and go set auto size and tick the box. If you don't do that, it all just appears crumpled in the top left. When I click play, oh, but hang on, I haven't actually done the key binding. Silly me. So let's do this key binding next. So this is a toggle inventory function. We now actually need to call the function. So I'm going to handle that on my player controller. Why not? So on my player controller, actually no, probably best to do it on the player character, in case the player characters change. So from here, I'm going to do oh hello, I'm forgetting all the steps. Sorry, we have to go into edit project settings and go down to input and new action mapping. And this one's going to be called inventory. You can call it whatever you like, but inventory works just fine. And I'm going to use the tab key. Again, you can use whatever key you like, it doesn't matter. So from here, I'm going to type in inventory, and I see action event inventory. And from there, I'm able to get this inventory component and toggle the inventory with the function call. And that's it. So now it will now appear on screen. Hey, there you go. So notice how the text doesn't appear. That's because we haven't set it yet. but you'll see it's all there, however not positioned where we want it to be. So we need to set up its positioning and its anchors. So let's have a look at that. So there's a few things we need to do here. Let's go back to our inventory component. So we've got the size done. From the return value, I'm going to drag out here, and I'm going to set alignment. So alignment is going to control where it's all aligned to. At the moment it's all aligned to the top left. So we need to change that to be dead center. So go 0.5, 0.5, click compile, and you should see it now. Well, kind of see it. It's now you can see it's stuck to the anchor. So now you can see clearly where the anchor is. The anchor is at the top left. So that's where we need to change next. It's anchor position. So from here we can go. From here, return value of the child canvas. We're going to set anchor, and the anchors we're actually going to make a variable for it. So click on variable, anchors, and the type of it is an anchor type, and click compile, and you want to hook that up to there. So let's sort some default values out. So 0, 0, 0, 0 is top left. If I change this now to 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, this will now appear dead center of the screen, like so. Okay, which isn't all that handy because it's quite in the way. So the anchors by default is fine, but for the first person character, for their inventory, we're going to make them appear on the right hand side. So then we're going to anchor them to the right. To anchor them to the right, the best way to think of this is minimum is left and top. So X is left, Y is top, and maximum is right and top. Okay, so if I want to do X value as 1 and Y as 0.5 and maximum X as 1 and Y as 0.5, that should now appear in the middle center of the right hand side, like so. So it's anchored to the right. I'm now going to offset that well, I can offset that. I can do whatever I really want with it. Actually, then let's put it in the center. Let's put it in the center. So first person character, can we do that? Yeah, we'll do that. Lose my mind here. It's fine. So anchors, we're going to set position. So next one is set position. So return value out of here, set position, and hook that up to there. And here you can change exactly where you want it to be. Okay, so if I were to do 0, 0 is the anchor position. So this is all the way to the right. So if I were to do -1000 here and click compile, you'll see it appear 1000 pixels away from the left hand side. I'm going to make that -500. Oh, -500. Yeah, there we go. I don't actually like that. Let's change that a bit. See, I'm always changing things. It's really annoying. So instead of using anchors as a variable, we're going to make anchors. Yeah, no, we're going to make anchors not a variable. We're going to get rid of anchors. So get rid of anchors. So we're going to make position a variable. Compile, and position will drop into position type. Sorry, this is a vector 2D, like so. So make position a vector 2D type and plug that into set position. In anchors, we're going to drag that out and click on make anchors. And here the default is going to be 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Oh, 0.5. So it's going to spawn it anchored to the center of the screen, but what we're going to make variable between each window is its position in relation to the center of the screen. So if I click compile, this will now return back to the center of the screen, like so. If I go into my player character, I can customize the position to be, let's say, 800. Let's see what that looks like. To the right, a bit too far. Let's change that to 500. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, there you go. That looks right. So that's where we'll make variable position. Okay. So with that done, this will spawn the widget. This won't actually toggle it. If I click back and play, hit tab again and again and again, it just overlays and creates multiple inventory windows. We need to change that so it toggles it off and on. And the easiest way to do that is at the start of toggle inventory, we're going to do a validated get for the inventory window. So to do that, drag on your inventory window variable, choose get, right click and choose convert to validated get, and hook it up like so. So what this does, it'll look at this variable and see whether or not it actually exists. If it does exist, it'll go this way. If it doesn't exist, it'll go this way. So is not valid, you want to go to create inventory window widget. So that will create the widget window. If it's not valid, we're going to remove it from parent. So type in remove from parent, and you want to drag on the inventory window to the target, like so. So it removes the inventory window from the HUD. Next, we want to actually reset the variable, and the way you reset a variable and destroy it completely is just doing set and leaving it as blank. Okay, that's all you do for that. So I click play, and I can toggle it with the tab key, and this will update the number of slots that are available every time because it's creating it each time afresh. Okay, so next job is make it so we can use that button on the window as well and make the window text work. So the button I can't actually access yet because I can still move around. I can't do anything. I can't interact with the window. So let's make that different. So at the end of the set position on the inventory component, you're going to change the game input mode. So set input mode to UI only, and the player controller is get player controller. The widgets you want to focus is the inventory window, and the mouse lock you want to lock always. Okay, and click compile. So that will change it to UI mode, so you can use the mouse to navigate it. When we destroy it though, we want to set it back to the game. So back here, when we destroy it, we want to go here to set input mode to game only. And the player controller, again, just do get player controller and click compile. And if I hit play, it'll change its game mode to here. However, the mouse doesn't appear, I can't do nothing, I'm stuck. So the reason why it does that is because we've told it to focus on the widget to focus here, but I haven't actually told the widget that it's focusable. So what we need to do is go into our window widget, click on the root in the hierarchy, the inventory window root, and you want to tick on the is focusable. Ticking that box and clicking compile will allow us to then see the mouse. Okay, now the button doesn't actually do anything yet. We need to do that, and we also need to make it so we can toggle it back off and back on again. So inventory window, we're going to make this button work. So click on the button here, and down the bottom in the details panel you'll see on clicked, on pressed, on released, on hovered, unhovered. You want on clicked. Click the plus symbol, and in here we're going to toggle the inventory again. So drag on inventory, choose get, and then do toggle inventory, and click compile. If I play, I can now close it using that button. and because I've closed it, it returns that to game. When I've opened it, I hit tab, it doesn't go back to working it. The reason why it doesn't do that is because the controller is controlling the character, not the widget. Okay, so we need to make the widget listen out for keyboard instructions. So on the window here, we're going to override a function. So on the functions, you'll see overrides. And overrides do what they say, really. Overrides a function that does exist in the game. So we want to override the Keydown event. And in here, we want to check, first of all, what key the person is using. So on Keydown, you get in key event. So from here, we can do get key, and that'll get the key we want. And then return value, we want to check whether or not it's equal to a particular key, in this case tab. This will return a boolean, which we want as branch, and branch then, if it is true, will go to toggle inventory. So inventory get toggle inventory, and hook it up to return node. And finally, for return node, this warning, you have to give the return value a response, whether it's been handled or unhandled. So just drag out here and type in handled. Means it's been sorted out and successful. If I hit play, I can now open the window, close with the button, open the window and close it with the tab key, and it returns back to game. Nice one. The next problem that you may see is that if I've got the mouse here and I click outside the window, it loses focus. Uh-oh, tab doesn't work, nothing works. I could move the mouse and guess where it is and click to regain its focus, but that's not ideal because it's not very user friendly. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is not meant to happen. I've tried finding a good workaround for it. I found a workaround, whether or not it's any good or not, up to you to decide, but it does work. And what I'm going to do is do a tick event on the window, and I'm going to check whether or not this has focus. Okay, so just do has focus. No, what am I doing? Focus. Oh, has keyboard focus. There you go. So if this widget has keyboard focus, we want to go into a branch. If it doesn't have focus, so false, if it doesn't have focus, we want to set its focus. So do set focus, set keyboard focus, and click compile. Not keyboard focus. We want mouse focus, sorry. Set get user focus. So it has user focus. There we go. Player controller, get player controller. And then finally, set user focus. There we go. So now that fixed that bug. And I click out here, and you can see I regain that functionality. Okay. Don't know why it's not working. It should work. Works my other version. I'll come back to that one. Let's just finish this up. So the last bit is to make that title appear. So in your graph, on the construct, at the end, we're going to get the title, or set it, sorry. So the title we're going to set, and sorry, we need to do that on the completed bit. Sorry, let's just delete that. It's completed. Let's reroute this, and we're going to go set title. Okay, and the title of this is going to come from the inventory. So I'm going to go inventory, get, and from here I can go get inventory name, like so. Now it should say backpack. Hey, backpack. Don't know why that's being weird. That should not do that. I'll investigate and let you know in the next episode. Okay, that's it for this episode. We now got this window appearing. and that will now work for all inventory components. So if I had a chest or anything else that wants an inventory window, that will now also appear with its own inventory window when I want to toggle it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let us know below. It's been a long episode, I know. I'm sorry. I'll try and make them shorter. Next time we're going to go through the process of actually picking up these and actually putting them into the inventory, and hopefully having time to show them in the inventory user interface. Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.